Okay, my outstanding friends, as my standard operating procedure, I will go to the end and tell you how we got there. And the end is Stonehenge as it is today, what it was constructed of, and what the heel stone is, and what these stones are, these sarsen stones, blue stones, sandstones, all of these things that they claim they know where they came from. They transported them many, many miles. I'm going to show you the reality of Stonehenge. This is what it originally was when they first found this. Well, when somebody painted it in 1835, that's what they had. Then they reconstructed it from there. And I believe I know what it was originally. So let's get into it. Like I say, I'm going to show you the end result, what I feel, and make my claims, and then I will elaborate how I came to that conclusion. I was able to make these claims, and I think I can make them stick. And they can be proven, I'm certain of that. Okay, so as promised, this is my claim and conclusion, is that Stonehenge might have been used for some kind of celestial events. I don't know about that, but I can show you that it was reconstructed, first of all, and secondly, that it is a monument to a giant that fell there, or at least giants, because it's made up of a bunch of different body parts of big giants. And that I will show you right now using the heel stone as a reference. Okay, so I claim there's no question that this is a foot. Just looking at it, you can tell it's a foot, first of all. These are the toes, and they come out like this, and these are the toes. This is a ridge of where blood comes to service the toes, and these little tiny dots, and I'll show you a little better shot in a second, are the tips where the blood flows between these two dots. This is the flat side. Somebody erected this. When this was dead, it was laying flat like this. This was down. All my stuff basically is completely flat on one side, as was this. It was laying like this. Somebody tilted it up like this to make some memorial for a giant. And that is the heel stone. It's, I don't know, 400, 500 feet down away from Stonehenge, but it's like the foot of them. And then there was another one. It was called the twin stone, which is now removed, and it's just a chalk pit right next to this, which was where the twin stone was, which he had 2 feet. Okay, this is obviously Stonehenge, and it was just a shambles when they first started to resurrect it. And when they did, they made some modifications, and I will show you what I believe those modifications are. So we're going to go to how was Stonehenge built in the first place, and what happened when they reconstructed it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I say it's body parts, and I will explain to you what body parts they are. And the heel stone is absolutely a foot. All right, if you're going to come up here and read as much as you want about it, they're talking about sarsen stones and blue stones and sandstones, and now we know right where they came from because we found a bunch of other ones exactly the same, way away from it. No, these are body parts. So another one 10 miles away is going to have the same kind of body parts if it was another giant. That's a shot right there. There's the heel stone way down here. So this is like the body, and this is like his feet. Okay, I don't have to go too deep into Stonehenge. Everybody knows what Stonehenge looks like now. And they claim that these stones were transferred from way away, and they're sarsen stones and blue stones and so forth. They're body parts. Let me show you the actual body parts that made up the heel stone primarily. That there's just absolutely no question about. Okay, I am a detail sort of guy. I want to know the details. And this is red and blue, meaning vein and artery. Veins are blue, arteries are red. Now you see on the tips of the toes, the vein is on one side, arteries on the other, same. and your fingertips are identical. One side has all the artery blood, and then it transfers back over to the vein sucks it back up. So these are the terminals in your fingers and toes. They both work the same way. And it's exactly that way in the heel stone. You see that? You should be able to see that. These are the terminals. The vein and the artery. Vein and artery right down the line. Vein and artery, vein and artery, vein and artery on each one of the toes. There's a layer of blood that comes down. And this is a tendon that straps across. And here they are anatomically. All right, this is the tendon that straps across, and this is the vein bringing up, the artery bringing up all the blood. And just like my no toe here, where the vein comes in, the artery, they get, the blood washes out of the arteries, and then they sort of collapse, basically. That's why you see it here. And you can see you can see exactly what it is. It's a foot. It's a foot. All right, these are vein and artery, I believe, here, or they're two major blood spots. And again, this is not exactly like our foot, but boy, I tell you, it's not very far off. It's huge. And again, the fingertips have the same things. The two tips at the end, they all have that. That's the way they work. The vein, artery comes down, the vein comes back. Each one of these. So that shows that is a foot. I don't know if you can say that's not a foot. I don't know how you can say it. What's the little dots doing at the end? I mean, it's just, this is what it is what it is. And now let me show you the rest of this thing, because the rest of it is also body parts. All right, what do you see here? A couple of uprights and a little thing across the top. Well, what is that? I'm going to tell you right now, that's a fingertip. That's the fingernail right here. The green mossy stuff is because there's a lot of blood in fingertips, and mossy green things love that blood. That's why it's growing here. Now, the fingernail's chipped off here, but this would have been where it was. And there is a little latch here where your tendons come down and lock in on the side, which that's where it broke off of. Now, this, I think, could also be a fingertip, like this. Instead of being this way, it was laying this way. In other words, this was down, and this one was up. So it was down, and this flattened out a little bit, but I think that might be. And I believe this is blood, right? Well, I know it is. This is blood right here, unless somebody vandalized it. And this has the same sort of situation here. There's no question you can find blood in these. It's going to be there. Now that little round pad, what that is it sits in between bones so they don't scrub against each other. And here's what it looks like in an x-ray. You see that little brown pad? And that's what they used to put on the top. Now again, this was reconstructed, so I don't know what was here and where they were in the first place, but I'm going to show you the reconstruction techniques they used, and I believe they altered some things when they reconstructed it to make it more earthquake-proof or more solid. And they did put in concrete and stone, steel beams and everything else to hold it so it wouldn't ever fall down, hopefully. Now, what I want to show you something about this is my mud fossils. This is a fingertip. They call it a distal phalanges. You see the look to it? Now, this is one that I have here that's extremely eroded all the way down. All the flesh is gone. And there's the bone black pattern inside. You see this little ridge around here? That's where the bone actually is, inside here. And this has pretty much eroded away. There's the artery and the vein. Now, I have this here in my shop. I'm going to pick it up and show it to you in a second. But you see this is a wire brush. Steel, iron, whatever you want to call it, and they leak the black iron, which this is nothing more than black iron because it's an artery, a vein. vein has the black iron, all right, which is magnetite. The other one is a hematite. Now, I have so much stuff here that's in every condition of erosion. This is that apical tuft that sits right at the tip of the fingertip. And all the balls invest in there, and that's what makes your fingertip be able to do all these little fancy things that it can do. But they sit into this, which sits right at the end of your fingertip. Okay, these are DNA tests I had done, and I had 3 specimens done. I extracted the samples and sent them off to be tested, and they came back as being human mitochondrial DNA, all 3 of them. And there's a lot of detail here about them and the primers they use. This was PCR DNA tested. This was very high end. Excellent quality DNA sequences obtained from the 36-inch and the lung samples. And here's what they were: mitochondrial cytochrome B and D loop region, all Homo sapien. And this is all. This was a very good quality test, and it's 100% conclusive, and it can be retested. I have this stuff; they can be retested. I'm not going to pay for it again. This was 9 years ago now. All right, as I showed you, the tips have these little dots on the ends of the tips of the toes, which is exactly what you have on the ends of the tips of the toes and the tips of the fingers, the same dots. And I have a fingertip here from a giant that was DNA tested, and here is actually the tip. That's the distal phalanges bone black. I'll show you in a second. Vein and artery are right here. That is an eroded apical tuft. This is a fingertip in an extreme amount of erosion. And then I have other ones here that are almost perfect, which I'll show you, and I've had them CAT scanned. Now, that is the bone black. Let me show you what a fingertip looks like right here. You see the pattern, that black pattern? That's this pattern right here, distal phalanges. All right, and all of the fleshy stuff basically is gone. Now, inside, though, there's blood. All right, don't forget, inside of the fingertips, there's 2 spots here, 2 spots here, and 1 on the end, 2 on the end. And that's precisely what you have in this fingertip. You have, you have the vein, which has still got the tube. And that comes out to this side, which is clamped off. They're both clamped off. See, one here and one there. They're not open. The same thing here. It's clamped off there, but the artery is open, open, and open. That's this. That's this fingertip right here. You know, it's been kicking around for 10 years or more, and this would be an apical tuft that would sit right on the end. Here's what they look like anatomically. Don't forget, there's the fingertip, and there's the anatomical, apical tuft. Here's what they look like. Here's the fingertip bone, and it has that little thing on the end with all those little holes where the balls fit in, and all those straps come back, and that gives your finger all kinds of capability to move and this and that. It's very, very sophisticated device, actually. And all of those balls lock in there. And this one still has 1 ball on the tip. It still has 1. Some of them are still in here, but a lot of them are gone. That one here is still there. All right, check this out. This is the fingernail, I say. And there's this little chunk is missing. It's kind of a strange look to it. Well, this is what is on the side of a fingertip, is where the tendons lock in, just like that. And I believe that's got to do with this. The fingernail part is missing. So, like, in other words, this chunk ripped right off of here. Like that. All right? Now, this was CAT scanned, DNA tested. It's human. And here's the CAT scans. All right, this is the same fingertip. You see this little curve right there? Just take your time, just look at that carefully. You never see that looking at this fingertip, but it is a fingertip. And that curve is in here, but you don't see it. This is a 2D CAT scan. I had 2D and 3D done. The 3D was not quite as good as the 2D. The 2D, you can see features you wouldn't realize. And there's that little latch here that ripped off. And when it did, it pulled off this little piece right here of the fingertip that's at Stonehenge, this gigantic fingertip. And this one has the same thing, you see it? Right there. This would have been a big fingertip, much bigger than it is now. So anyway, this was the gigantic giant, and this little piece here is the piece in between the bones of fingertips or some bones. Where is it? It's right there, these pads. Now, my giant fingertip, which I call giant, is 3 feet long. That's pretty good size. Now, not compared to Stonehenge. Stonehenge is much bigger than that. My fingertip is a piece about like that, and it's 3 feet long. And that's a lot more than 3 feet. These people are, let's see, even 5 feet tall. That's 5, 10, 15 feet-ish. Now, mine was DNA tested. It still has the fingerprints on it. Here it is right here. It's got the fingernail, just like at Stonehenge. There's the fingernail. Remember I showed you that little round pad that bumps up between the bones? That's it right there. And there's the vein and artery. It's like here. Only this one's, of course, way eroded. And that's it. Now I broke this piece off so I could get down and get some blood off, and there was fingerprints still on that. And here they are right here. That's the fingerprints. That's the sweat pore. That's the finger ridge. You see the sweat pores? And the ridges? And this is, it came off like a scab. I have it over here. Hold on a second. Hold on. All right, this is the piece right down here, and that is the 2 sweat pores. This piece here is additional that would fit up here. All right, the fingernail was right here. So that fingernail was very, very good size. And that is the sweat pores right there. Those are the sweat pores, you see it? Now it came off just like a scab, you see that? That didn't fracture like a big chunk and break off. It's just like a scab, just like this. It was just stuck, almost like it was glued. You see that? And it was on there. It wouldn't have fallen off except for I whacked it and it popped off. And that's the thickness of the skin. That's the thickness of this grip skin. This stuff is tough. Very, very tough stuff. And that's where the fingernail was. So you follow that out, that's going to be a huge, huge fingernail. Because it's 3 feet long. So my thumb is about as wide as that fingernail. I mean the finger ridge. The ridges are these. You got them in your own fingers. Now, if you go only to just barely next to the fingernail, you see the fingernail was here. The fingerprints start right down here. That's what, see how close they are to the fingernail. You only got a tiny little scab of skin between your nail and your fingerprints. This was from this fingertip here. There was DNA tested and CAT scan, 2D and 3D. This was from a right hand thumb. You see how I can tell that? You see how that, if you hold your, one side is sort of flat right here. then you have this chunk of stuff hanging over the other side. It's the only ones that do is your thumbs. You see how that big lump hangs over the side? All right, that's pretty obvious. Do it to your own hand, you'll find the same thing. This side's kind of straight across, and this side is a big lump hanging off. That's that. Now, these are the two tendons that come up the sides. The black is the vein blood, and the white is the artery blood. You see this? That's one of the tendons, but that is where the artery was. Arteries leak out, so they don't really show up like the black does. The black is plugged off because it's veins. Veins have valves in them, and it's black. And the other one is red and it leaks out. Like this. You see how that leaked out? Completely just leaked right out. The black ones plug off. You don't see it as being black, but it's plugged off, and it is. And that's the vein tubing, which it doesn't even erode away. The artery just blows right out, blows right out, blows right out, and blows right out. The whole artery side, the vein side, sealed right off. And they're all like that. It's not just this one. They're all like that. And this is a thumb. Okay, this is the most important thing to remember, is that collagen is the one thing that creates the mud fossils. And it's the only place you can get collagen is from the skin and tissue of animals. The amino acid combination does not naturally exist or occur in plants. So amino acids, which is the ones that make collagen, are found only within the skin and tissue of animals. Now, even in feathers, this is collagen, is what feathers are made of, and they coat a bird, which is a goose. This is Caesar Augustus. He's my pet. He's my mascot. He's my friend. And he's been nucleophilically substituted by invasion, but the collagen turned into feldspar, which is aluminum silicates. Collagen is primarily in the phospholipid range, phosphorus. And when the phosphorus broke down, it broke down into aluminum and silicates. Phosphorus broke down into aluminum silicates, which is what all feldspar is made of. And everything I have is made with feldspar on the outside of it, basically everything. And then inside, you get into basalt and all kind of other different types of rock. But this was a goose. And there's his feathers. And he's flat on this side. You see it? Because he was in a flood, he died like that. And he was all hot and boiled and all that stuff, and all of it being infiltrated by whatever was around him, which was his muddy clays and fleshy sort of stuff. And it just migrated through here and transitioned what was in here into a muddy substance, basically. The same thing with this. This was bones and all kinds of stuff in here. Now it's just a chunk of mud. That's called nucleophilic invasion and substitution. But when you know how to look, and you know how to look for the signatures of life and the veins and the arteries and all that stuff, well, then you understand. And once you understand, it's easy to understand once you understand. Until you understand, you don't understand. I'm sure you understand. I hope you understand. But the amino acids that make collagen are found only within the skin and tissue of animals. That's the preservative that preserved all these things. That's why the collagens didn't form in plants. They didn't protect them. Cellulose just broke down and dissolved. And bones have the same situation. Bones that were exposed, bones that were inside, like the bone that's in here, is preserved, but it's preserved in a mud fossil way. I broke this off so I could see the bone, and the bone is there. You see those little bumps? That's what the bone is made like, the inside there. And that's strictly the bone. This piece here, right here, I broke that off so I could see what the bone would look like. And when they find these chunks of things like this, oops, and then they see a bone, they will actually break these things all off until they get down to the bone. And they're breaking away the flesh. all right, because they want to find bones. They think that's the only thing that makes any sense is bones. Now, remember I showed you the apical tuft? I don't know if you can see that circle right there. Where was the apical tuft? It's around here somewhere. Anyway, that's where the apical tuft is, that circle, and at the bottom it shows up here. See? And these straps are straps running off of that apical tuft, which is right there. Okay, my friends, this is extremely important to understand this. The amino acids that make collagen are found only within the skin and tissue of animals. Let me read that again. The amino acids that make collagen are found only within the skin and tissue of animals. The skin and tissues, which is the connective tissues. This unique amino acid combination does not naturally occur in plants. That's why the trees dissolve, the cellulose just dissolved. The fascia is where this collagen is found, preserved. And it's the fascia that preserved and created the mud fossils. You see this right here? Fascia is that white, stringy, sometimes elastic fabric. It's a substance made mostly of collagen. Fascia is all collagen, basically. It's a type of protein, provides strength and flexibility. Fascia is soft, loose, and made up of multiple layers. Well, it's not necessarily loose. Fascia can be loose to expand and contract with your lung and so forth. A liquid called hyaluronic is between each layer, which is this fluid-filled highway, basically. So don't forget, fascia is collagen. Fascia is collagen. Well, here's a paper I wrote in 2015. Fascia facilitated fossilization. In other words, collagens facilitate the fossilization of all these creatures, like Caesar Augustus here. He's my goose. There's his little nose hole, his beak, or his bill, or whatever they call it, his eye. There's his feathers and all that, because this is collagen. Your skin, feathers, all the coatings of everything, and the coating of all your organs and all that stuff is made of these collagens. And it's called fascia. And that's what protected and created all my mud fossils. Okay, I guess we'll just end it right here. This is, they don't know what the first purpose is. Now they're looking for a second purpose of Stonehenge. The purpose of Stonehenge was a memorial for a giant. I think I have made that fairly clear. And if there's any questions about it, I'm certainly willing to address them. All right? I love you all. Thank you. Let's come back to reality. Once you know the truth, there is no excuse.
Once you know the truth, there is no excuse.